This is my Taylor 410 CE from 1999, and it sounds pretty good. Needs a setup. Some of the strings are buzzing a little bit, but I like the way it sounds. So, your left hand does the fingerings, the chordings, and your right hand does the rhythmic stuff, but there is some interplay between the two. So with the left hand, there are times where your left hand can influence very much the rhythmic stuff. So if I was just doing a B minor chord, right? If I was strumming like this, I could go. My right hand is just doing 16ths the whole time. Which, I mean, that occurs a lot in guitar playing, particularly in like funk. You might have somebody going like. But even with chords, so that's me muting with my left hand. It's very much affecting the rhythmic side of. Alright, so it's very important to develop a consistent, dynamic, and yet powerful right hand. So you want your right hand to be able to do a certain rhythm with, over and over and over and over and getting it perfectly every time. So whether that's just straight 16ths, 1 E and a 2 E and a, or some kind of like, those are 16ths with accents. Just got a cool sound to it, depending on the chord. Even that's a nice accent on the. It's a very percussive kind of accent there. Straight 8s. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and quarters. Those are a bit more spread out. You can even do a straight like. So that's like the consistency part, but then the dynamic part is you want to be able to do those things, same chords. I'll pick a progression, G, C, E minor, D. This is quiet, right? Then there's a loud version of that. Now that rhythmic stuff didn't change. That was just purely a dynamic shift from a quieter to louder. And you want to be able to keep, whenever you're in a loud part, keep it consistently dynamic, consistently loud, so that the dynamics make sense for the part. You can keep accents in there, but if you're overall in a louder area, it doesn't make sense to be playing, like that doesn't really make a lot of sense. If you're a solo artist and you're trying to do that for effect in a song, that'll make sense, but typically in our settings, I would just keep it consistent. So your right hand, very important. It's also, with the individual strings, it's important to sometimes focus on particular strings. I can't think of any specific examples, but if I'm playing a full chord, G, that's all 6 strings. If I'm playing a D major chord, now I'm not muting that lowest string here, but that string does not belong in the chord. If you play it all together, it sounds weird. So if I'm playing a D chord, I might not have to mute if I just stay on the top. pitch-wise 4 strings. So you need accuracy in terms of positioning your right hand. So that's all with the pick. I'll do some finger picking stuff in a second. Beyond that, you want to make sure that with your left hand, if you can mute certain strings that don't belong, that's a great idea. Particularly on D chords, when this low string does not belong, I use my thumb to mute. So then I can strike all 6 and have it sound really, really good and full with a lot of attack from my right hand and not have to worry about this note clouding up. Now a lot of this has become unconscious. I don't have to think, put your thumb there. It's just part of it. Now, I think a lot of players may not do that. They'll have to be better at aiming at 5 strings. I like the idea of not having to worry about that and giving it as much attack as it needs. To me, that sounds a whole lot better. So even in this chord, so I'm playing a C here, right, with a, it's called a C, if I add the E in there, it's a C9 chord, or C major 9, nope, C add 9, or add 2, I don't know. The point is, you've seen it before in G major shapes. I place my middle finger on the C note of A, which is the 3rd fret, in such a way to mute the lowest string, so I can still. You can also use your thumb, so if you were more accurate and you just hit the strings dead on where they're supposed to be, and the string would normally ring out, which I just tend to like, if I want it there, like that, but if I don't want it there, I just kind of flatten a little bit my middle finger. Or you can just use your thumb. See how my thumb went up for the E minor chord because we want that low? See? And then I also can use my thumb to add the F sharp in the D major chord if I want that low in the bass. The low F sharp in the bass. So with finger picking, I'm going to put the pick down. We'll talk about chords in a moment, but in terms of other rhythmic stuff, there's so many different kinds of patterns you can do finger picking. I tend to do a certain, like I think I have like 3 or 4. I don't think about it too much, but I have like 3 or 4 that I typically do when it comes to finger picking. With a D major chord, an easy one is, or relatively easy one, is just to do these 4 fingers, thumb, 1, index, 2, middle, 3, ring, 4, and just go. And my thumb keeps hitting whatever the bass note is of the chord, in this case D. And then 2nd fret of D, which is E for the E minor-ish, and then 3rd of A string. And I'm still just doing the top 3 strings with the other fingers. Another pattern that I would do, and you can. There's times where I wouldn't necessarily do just the top strings with these fingers, right? So. Okay. So this is a syncopated pattern where the thumb is doing quarters, and these fingers are weighting on to the and, right? So I do 2 notes together. So it goes 1, 2, 3, thumb, 1, 2, 3. So that didn't make any sense. So 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. song by Train, the band Train, called Marry Me, that does a similar pattern. I think he goes, I'm starting with my thumb and my fourth finger and then doing 3, 2. I think he goes 2, 3 over here. I do the other way because it's just more comfortable. That's another pattern I do. There's a song called Mighty is the Power of the Cross by Chris Tomlin that has this beautiful, I think it's tuned down a half step, so it's like really an F sharp, but it's G shapes, and it goes like this. I really like that. Now, finger picking while holding a pick, you can do it. I tend to hold the pick sneakily in the fold of my first finger here. Well, this is not my first finger. This is the second finger, my index finger. So I can still use these 4, even 5 if I want to use my pinky. And then I grab it with my thumb and slide it out, right? So. And now it's gone. Well, that's a cool pattern. So that's kind of the first pattern I showed, was the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of thing. Yeah, I'm doing that, but I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 4, or 1, 3, or 1, 2, and then holding it. It sounds cool when the last note is different from the same, whatever the same finger did before. So if I'm like on D major, so that's just the top 4 strings consecutively, but then I'll do that pattern 1, 2, 3, 4, thumb, 4th finger again, but then I'll hammer on this fret, so it sounds. That sounds very cool. So I didn't change anything on the left hand, I just went to a different string. Now let's talk chords. Actually, no, let's not talk chords, because that's a whole separate video. This is mainly right hand stuff. If you have any questions, please let me know. It's important to practice your strumming. Make sure it's even, it feels smooth, it doesn't sound like your attack is all jagged. You should even watch yourself in a mirror so to see that your right arm isn't elbow based. I don't want to say that's wrong, but I don't think it's the most efficient. I don't think it's the most accurate. Some people strum like this, and it sounds terrible. It's better if you make use of your wrist and your arm, as well as some motion here, to get it very smooth. You want it to sound good. You want each string to ring out if you can. Have a very similar attack on each string, even though the strings themselves are different sizes and tensions. Just wrist, I couldn't even do that because the distance is too far, I feel like. So I have to get my elbow in there a little bit. As an acoustic guitar player in the worship space, if you will, rhythmic stuff is more important than any runs that I do. It's more about nailing the chords at the right time with the right voicing, which we didn't talk chords, but it's more of a left hand game, a right hand game than it is even left hand game. The acoustic guitar, while it provides notes and harmonic content, meaning like the chord, there's a very big element of the rhythmic side of the acoustic guitar. One person that I know talks about panning in a stereo setting. He'll pan the acoustic guitar opposite the hi-hat, so that you have a rhythmic side to the drums on one and the acoustic guitar on the other, providing like a nice mix of rhythmic things. And not to say that he doesn't use the harmonic content, it's not just he wants this from the acoustic guitar, he does want the chords, but the acoustic guitar is so rhythmic and percussive that it's nice to have that against the hi-hat, so you hear the different accents and things. Alright, that's enough for now. This is a longer video than I anticipated making. I hope it sounds good, I hope it looks good, I hope you like my bedroom, and feel free to blah blah blah, subscribe, like this video, share it with your friends, send me money on Patreon, GoFundMe, Kickstarter, Indiegogo, PayPal, Square Cash, Wampum, and all of the other lira, euros, pesos. Good night.